Ed Grimes. We were supposed to leave at 10 o'clock to get to the Veterans Cemetery because they're waiting on us and they're on a time schedule. So I was supposed to be finished at 10 o'clock and it's 10:02. Work it out, y'all. My mother had something you called agape love. It's not the kind of love that says, I love you if you love me. It's not the kind of love that says, I love you if you act right, if you look good, if you smell good. It's not the kind of love that says, I'll love you if you don't get on my nerves. It's God's love. It's a divine love. It's the same love called agape that is used in the word love when God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. While we were yet sinners, when we didn't know God, when we didn't love God, when we couldn't even say his name, he died for us on Calvary. That's the kind of love my mother had. Divine love, and she needed divine love in order to love the kind of family she had. I'm just going to tell it like it is. My father was a handful all by himself. And I can talk about my father because he's my father. Now, somebody outside of my family, you better not talk about my father. But my father was not just one handful, he was about 5 or 6 handfuls. My brother that passed away was a handful. And my brother and I are handfuls all by ourselves.
Speak for yourself.
Divine love. 1 Corinthians 13. Love bears all things, endures all things, believes all things, hopes all things. My mother bore all things for her family. And oh, did my mother endure. And I even tried to talk my mother out of enduring some of the things she endured. But now I understand God's love, God's love. Now I'm going to say something that may shock some of you. You may want to put your hands over your ears. My mother did not always smile. She was not always sweet. And I'm not telling you about something I heard. I'm a witness. I can testify. My posterior can testify about that. Somebody say amen. But through it all, the essence of my mother was agape love, the love of God. I haven't lived in Houston for 40 years. I've been pastoring, and my mother passed the gene of the Spirit to me, paved the way. Her grandfather was a preacher. One of my uncles, her brother, was a preacher. We go on, and it was just passed on through God. So it was only fitting for me, after being gone so much, to be in the room with my mother the last days of her life. She was in hospice, dying. I pulled up a rollaway bed next to her, watched my mother die. The woman full of of joy and life and the love of God, I watched it. And that image just stayed in my mind. Life going out of her just before she died. I sung to her, I need thee every hour. I sung to her, I surrender all. And I sung to her, I surrender all, because it was time for her to surrender. Surrender us over to God, Mama. Surrender your heart, mind, soul, and spirit over to God. I sung I surrender all. I went to sleep right next to her in a rollerblade bed. 1 o'clock in the morning, 30 minutes, the nurse woke me up and said, your mother's gone. And the only image I could have in my mind was that my mother withering away right next to me. So every time somebody might say her name, that image would come up and I would cry. My brother and Gwen was saying, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Or they just would hold me or put their arms around me. But I came to Wheeler Avenue's Vacation Bible School this week. I sat there and a song began to play. And I began to see the image of my mother withering away, dying. And then as I listened to the song and as I cried, a part of the song said, and we shall behold face to face. And all of a sudden, my tears turned into joy, because the image of my mother changed